Hopefully I can get this without getting tongue-tied. Christopher McQuarrie. So we all know Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1 and Part 2 was supposed to be the end of the franchise. You know, end of Ethan Hunt's story, end of the Mission Impossible. And that's it. Well, he has just come out and confirmed that it is not the end of the series. It is going to continue after Dead Reckoning Part 2. We don't know if it's going to go into someone else or whatnot, or if it's going to still follow Ethan Hunt. And he adds that they already have ideas for what's next. What could be next? Mission Impossible is all about Ethan Hunt, but hey, mate, you do you. James, what are your thoughts on this?
Man, this whole Let's Be Real has been negative news, honestly.
We need one of these every now and then, you know?
Just get it off our chest, all the negativity.
Get it and put, you know, like give a reality check to the people.
I don't Mission Impossible to continue. On some level, I'm happy because I love Mission Impossible. I love what they contribute to the movie industry. The practical, high-intensity stunts is something you don't see much today, especially when it's the lead actor doing it. Going to all these, practical, locations. It's a real worldwide espionage kind of thing. We don't see this very often. So I do support it in that sense, but if they're going to continue it, you need to end in Ethan Hunt at Dead Reckoning Part 2. He needs to be gone. He doesn't need to die or anything. He can retire or however the director sees fit. At the end of the day, I trust Christopher McQuarrie. I do believe he's a very competent director and writer. He had a part to play in terms of the writing of Top Gun Maverick as well, alongside 5 and 6 of the Mission Impossible series. So I do trust him. I know he's a great director, fantastic filmmaker. So his comments here are surprising. And I have to trust that it won't be Ethan Hunt related and how they continue on. I do not want a Mission Impossible 9. Just something else. Whether it's a spin-off, a reboot, whatever. I want what these movies mean to filmmaking to exist and to continue forever. And that's very practical stunts. It's very high budget kind of things. It's real world locations all around the world. At some of the highest kind of filmmaking we have today in terms of the high budget stuff. I want that to continue. I don't know. I do know that I don't want the Ethan Hunt story to continue because you've committed to this ending. See it through. You don't need Tom Cruise there all the time. These movies can exist without him. I know he is the one that kind of started it all. He can be a producer and be close to the production, but you need to find more actors and actresses that can play these roles and commit to the high stunt level and work that's required to achieve those stunts. You need to commit to those, and you need to commit to more stories around that. Don't even make it in the Mission Impossible universe. Don't even use the Mission Impossible title.
They will.
I know they will just for the sake of it, but Mission Impossible, the world is not really a world. It's just, it feels like our world. It's just kind of the reality now. It doesn't feel like its own unique world, all this kind of stuff. Something like Blade Runner, that feels very unique to a world. You obviously need to apply the name to have a movie that fits in that world. Mission Impossible, you can just rebrand and go somewhere else. But they'll use the Mission Impossible title. I hope they don't. And if they do, that's fine. As long as it's a very different story, takes in a very different time period and not related to anything that we had before. Because we need conclusions, and we need more conclusions in things we see.
Mm-hmm.
I think why Marvel's not taken seriously so often is because people die or come back and then they don't die, and it's just
they've introduced variants now.
Yeah, exactly. And like the only time people are going to die is when it's a major Avengers movie. Like that's the only time when you can actually see a death coming.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never going to be in the personal solo movies. That's just one example, though. Like, there's just not enough conclusion to things we have now. And to really commit to that, same with the Spider-Verse. I keep bringing that up, but what they're doing is just amazing. They're like, nope, the third one's we're done after the third one. Like
For now.
that's Miles' story done. They've already planned to do spin-offs and stuff like that, but Miles' story is done. If they can do that Mission Impossible, Ethan Hunt's story is done. We're gonna explore other people in this kind of world. I'm perfectly fine with that as long as they keep up the same stunt work and stuff like that. As long as Ethan Hunt doesn't cameo, that's fine.
I feel the reason why Mission Impossible is so stunt based is because of Tom Cruise. I think he's the only real advocate for doing his own stunts. I think most actors and actresses nowadays more care about, as they should, their own well-being and injuries and whatnot. Where Tom Cruise is just like, fuck it, I'm going to jump off a fucking plane.
Yeah.
So
but he had to do a lot of pre-work to get that.
Yeah, he did.
Can't do that on qualifying.
So I think it's definitely like a once in a generation sort of person that comes around for that. So that's probably why I think the Mission Impossible films will dip down after that, because I can't think of any person besides Keanu Reeves that would want to do his own stunts.
If you're going to find someone that's going to be a newcomer, I'll say that much.
Yes.
You're not going to get an established actor to do it.
I think so too, yeah.
And that's good, in my opinion. Sorry.
Building more talent, which is what we discussed last week with Fantastic Four. I understand why there's more films coming up for franchises. They want to make money and whatnot.
Yeah.
But they draw a line. Franchises have to end. John Wick had the perfect, well, not perfect, but like a good ending for that franchise. And now there's apparently a 5 coming out. Toy Story, we touched upon it before. It had a good 4th film.
5th one. I'm excited. Let's go.
This is shit I had to put up with, guys.
I'm being that one's genuine. I'm sorry.
Anyway, unless they go with how would you think if they went with a James Bond sort of route? It's the same character in the same franchise, but they recast the actor and tell somewhat different stories.
Oh,
would you like that? So Mission Impossible is still based on Ethan Hunt, but it's like
a retelling.
A retelling.
That's a good question. I don't think I'd like it because it would feel too copycat to James Bond. I feel like that's unique to James Bond. I feel like James Bond is the only one who could, the character per se, could age through that as well as they're done.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think they would, or I don't think it should, just because I feel like it should and is only unique to James Bond and that character. I feel like you can go in other directions with this franchise. I think the big selling point for this franchise is the stunts, is the big things that they do. And whether that's new talent or established talent that want to do it, they have to commit the way Tom Cruise did. And you're only going to make a movie, in my opinion, you should only make a movie within the Mission Impossible universe if an actor is going to do exactly what Tom Cruise would do. If they're not going to do it, don't make it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, and I know there's loads of talent out there that would do exactly what he did.
I can't think any off the top of my head. Maybe the 1917 guys, because they actually did all that.
No, I'm talking like just talent in general. Like if you had some newcomer who's like, I really want to make it in Hollywood, like I'll do it. Yeah, they would do it. Like, and they'd put in the work. There's people out there that will put in the work to make a name for themselves.
Yeah.
And we could find the next action blockbuster star, because I think that is...
Probably could, yeah.
You think about action stars these days, you don't really have much of a list.
That's true.
You just have green screen actors these days.
Just thought of something. Surprise segment for you. Arnold Schwarzenegger has come out saying that...
Oh, stop with the surprise. Don't blindside me.
I love a good blindside, He did come out and say that he's never going to retire because,
they reload.
Cringy as fuck line, which goes to show his career.
Whoa.
Apart from Terminator, those are good lines, but the rest he has...
the kindergarten cop, yeah.
That I actually like that film.
That's a good one. Yeah.
But yeah, you have these actors that probably should retire, but they're not. That's somewhat taking away screen time from these younger actors that are trying to make the names for themselves. Is that what you're trying to get at here with Mission Impossible? Like, would you rather just, I don't know. Obviously, Tom Cruise, he can do this forever. He still looks like a 30-year-old, and he obviously still has the physicality for it. But at the end of the day, his body's going to catch up to him.
Yeah, I think he's 60 now. Eh? Yeah, he turned 61 soon.
Would you rather have him just pass the torch on to a newcomer, or take the Arnold Schwarzenegger route?
Very good question. I want him to leave behind Mission Impossible. It's at an all-time high, man. I did my forecasting for Dead Reckoning Part 1 today. And a part of that, obviously, I look at the critical success of the past movies. The last 4 movies have been like 93, 94, and 97% on Rotten Tomatoes.
They're very high, yeah.
They're extremely high. They're very good. And I have no doubt that Dead Reckoning is going to be in that same tier. Maybe not 97, that's a very high mark to get to. But, just end it on a high. Like, don't continue these forever because you don't have forever. And I think we saw it. We haven't seen it yet. We are going to see it on Wednesday. Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford. I have heard a lot about how, they can do what they can behind the scenes and in post-production, but Harrison Ford doesn't look like he has that kind of, that pep in his step, kind of, doesn't have that pull and that punch kind of stuff.
It's close to 8 years old, so.
Yeah. And understandably, it's not like we're going to hold it against him or anything, but at some point, we are going to see it on screen. So just end it on a high, pass the baton over, have a mentor someone young who's enthusiastic and has good potential, and your legacy can continue through that. If you end it on a bad note and in a note where the audience can notice beyond critics, beyond us, then your legacy is a little bit stained in that sense. Just pass it on, because I want Tom Cruise to be the ambassador of action stars in the future. We've reached a point where, they don't want to do stunts. They don't want to, miss the hero, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be clean, non-scratch or anything. If he can be an ambassador for the future of a lot of future action stars who do their own stunts, that's huge. That's the legacy.
I still think there are some franchises that should just end, because obviously those characters that's synonymous with them,
but like a spin-off, different characters inside the same world.
Maybe, yeah. Like Indiana Jones, you can't do a spin-off of that. Like, you can't have a new Indiana Jones, because you think of Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford, Ethan Hunt, Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
John Wick, Keanu Reeves. Like, you can't continue that sort of characters. Well, you can, because studios will find a way, but that's why Back to the Future works so well, is because they committed to that story arc of Doc and Marty.
Yeah. And
they've been adamant, like, they don't want a Back to the Future 4.
They will do it.
Not yet.
It will happen.
Not yet. And I'm hope maybe when both like Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox probably passes away.
Okay. I agree with you. If this is the chance for Tom Cruise to mentor a new wave of action stars, would that allow you to buy into it a little bit more?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because I think we have a whole lot of like new talent coming across, from child actors to teenagers to semi-adults, but we're not seeing much of them. Jodie Comer, we're seeing her on smaller stuff, the kid from Jojo Rabbit, we're hearing his name a lot, but we're not seeing him so much stuff, even the girl from Jojo Rabbit, I forgot her name, Thomasin McKenzie.
Yeah.
She has been in some decent films, but we're not seeing much of her. Because I think roles are just so scarce right now that people are just picking and choosing whatever they can get, or they're just doing small stuff to build up their filmography. I think you're right. If Tom Cruise can find someone and be like, this is the next guy, and literally take him under his wing, hold him through 3 films, and then just let him be, then they'll be great.
If that's in Dead Reckoning, say there's like an intern on the team, probably wouldn't work, because it's the second part of what's going to have very high stakes in the movie we're about to see in July. If they were to sow the seeds with that and say, there's this younger guy and he's not experienced, and Tom Cruise is trying to teach him and he just can't. And say the end of the movie happens and whatnot. That's the end of Ethan Hunt's story. And then the next Mission Impossible, not the 9th one, but a new story, and it's focused on this kid or young adult or whatever. But Tom Cruise is still part of it, and he's just mentoring him, and he's like, I'm too old, I can't do it, but I will teach you the ropes.
That would be good.
That would be good.
It's probably something like Harrison Ford should have done to Shia LaBeouf and Crystal Skull. Because that ending off it, like, him giving his fedora and stuff, it seemed it was a passing of the torch moment.
Yeah.
And that's never going to happen because he's not even in this next one. So it's just a bit of a waste of a scene there and just waste of emotion, But if Tom Cruise is committed to building the future of Hollywood, he's obviously a clear advocate for Hollywood.
Definitely, yeah.
He delayed Top Gun and even Mission Impossible.
He has a lot of power, akin to Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did it for the cinema. So if he can recognize an upcoming talent, take him on his wing, then he's building literally the future of Hollywood in terms of good films.
Yeah.
Obviously we have Hollywood and there's just mediocre films, but in terms of good once in a lifetime sort of films.
All right. Last question before we wrap up this, because this is an interesting topic and I'm very excited for Dead Reckoning. You know that. If Christopher McQuarrie is signed on to the spin-off or the startup, and then you got your lead, and then you got Tom Cruise mentoring, are you going to be highly anticipating that movie? It's a spin-off, but it's starting someone new. Christopher McQuarrie is writing and directing as well, so
I would, because he's coming off Mission Impossible Fallout, fantastic, Top Gun, fantastic.
Yeah.
From what we've seen on the trailer so far, and behind the scenes footage of Dead Reckoning Part 1 also looks fantastic, and no doubt Part 2 is going to be just as fantastic as well. So he's clearly one of those. He's similar to Chad Stahelski in terms of genre. I know I'm comparing these two franchises a lot, but just the quality is literally the same.
Mission Impossible is a tier above John
Wick. I know, but
I'm
just talking about the quality. What you're going to get from these films and these directors. Chad Stahelski is on the film.
Yeah.
You know what you're going to get pretty much.
Yeah.
So I think that's what Christopher McQuarrie is doing right now. I think he's pretty much in that tier. After Dead Reckoning Part 1, you see his name, you know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
It's pretty much like the modern day, Spielberg's and Nolan's and Villeneuve's,
Yeah. Oh, man. If Dead Reckoning Part 1 and Part 2, which comes out next year, those back-to-back titles, if they are the 97% that Fallout is, I don't know what level that Christopher McQuarrie ends up on, but man, it's going to be high because
if he goes back to back high 90s, I'd say I'll give him some leeway, 96 plus.
Yeah,
I want him to see in something different, not just Mission Impossible, just something different. Because
fair enough,
because it's the whole Fast and Furious thing.
So perhaps a break with Mission Impossible can continue. Say Tom Cruise ages till 65 to 70, and then he can mentor someone, but not doing the extra stunts because he's much older now, and then they return back to the Mission Impossible franchise. That could work. At least, I do agree that they should have a break, or at least Christopher McQuarrie moves on to something else because there's talent. I'd like to the versatility of it.
I'm just talking about McQuarrie as a director overall. We're seeing him in his comfort zone. Put him outside his comfort zone.
Yeah.
At least with Nolan, he does something different each film.
This is what I say about Villeneuve.
Yeah, I think
Get out of your
Villeneuve.
comfort zone, dude.
I think Villeneuve right now is in that comfort sci-fi sort of.
This is my only criticism towards him because he is an amazing director.
100%.
Brilliant. One of the best working today. I'd say top 3, top 5. But you're always in sci-fi, man. I want to see something different.
That's right. And you can branch out. You can go into sci-fi comedy, sci-fi romance. You can stick to your strength, but still change it up. And that's probably what McQuarrie can do. He can still stick with that sort of action type of film, but make it sci-fi or horror.
It can be complicated because if they are only good at that one genre, then stay in that genre.
Yeah.
But at least try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well. I think we've rambled on enough.
Yeah, and that went way longer than I thought. That
Yeah.
was an interesting conversation.
Me too. I was planning
enjoyed
on
that one.
I was planning on watching a movie out of this. Might have to reevaluate that now.
You can still watch some Indiana Jones.
I probably could.